Okay, picture this. The person you fear most in the world, someone you seriously wronged, like decades ago. You dreaded this reunion, maybe lost sleep over it, and then they see you coming, and they run towards you. Not with a weapon, but, well, with open arms. Tears streaming. An embrace.
Yeah, it sounds almost unreal, doesn't it? Like something straight out of a movie. But that's exactly the scene we're diving into today. It's one of the most startling and, frankly, deeply human stories of forgiveness you'll find anywhere in ancient literature. We're talking about the reunion of Jacob and Esau in Genesis chapter 33.
Right. And for this deep dive, we've really dug into the sources. We've got scriptural interpretations going way back, plus historical analysis, psychological takes, theological perspectives, the works.
Mm-hmm. Our mission really is to unpack all of that. We want to get past just the surface story, pull out those key insights. We'll look at the historical backdrop, what was really going on then. We'll explore the powerful metaphors, the typological significance.
Logical, like foreshadowing.
Exactly. How events or people point to later often divine realities. And we'll definitely draw up the lessons for us today. Spiritual, psychological, theological, even social dimensions. It's all in there.
And really prepare yourself, because this isn't just like an old story. As we unpack Jacob's fear, all his planning, and then Esau's just jaw-dropping grace, I think you're going to have some real aha moments.
Yeah, hopefully.
This should deepen your understanding of the text for sure, but also maybe give you some surprising insights into handling conflict, dealing with the past, and embracing grace in your own life. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so let's set the scene. Jacob is coming back. He's been away for 20 years, right? Over in Paddan Aram, way off in Mesopotamia.
That's right. He fled there after, the whole birthright and blessing fiasco with Esau. He worked for his uncle Laban, built up a huge family, flocks, wealth. But now he's heading back to Canaan, the land God promised his family.
But this isn't just a road trip home. This is the big one. He has to face Esau. 20 years of silence, maybe.
Yeah.
20 years of knowing his brother wanted him dead.
Exactly. That's the crucial backdrop. Our sources really emphasize this. The estrangement goes back to Genesis 25:27, Jacob's deception, stealing the birthright for a bowl of stew, then tricking their blind father Isaac into giving him Esau's blessing.
Oof, yeah. Not his finest moment.
Not at all. And the last time they were really together, Esau explicitly said, "After my father dies, I will kill my brother Jacob." That threat has been hanging over Jacob's head for 2 decades. It fuels everything that happens next.
So this profound guilt, this fear, it's palpable as he gets closer. Even though, as our sources point out, he just had this incredible life-changing experience.
Right, the wrestling match at the Jabbok River, that's Genesis 32. He literally wrestles with God or an angel all night. He comes away with a new name, Israel. One who struggles with God and a permanent limp.
A physical reminder.
A reminder of that encounter and maybe his new dependence on God, not just his own smarts. But, and this is key, even after that divine encounter, even with the new name, the fear of Esau, it's still incredibly powerful.
So the spiritual transformation didn't just erase the past or the fear.
Apparently not immediately or not completely. He's been changed, yes, fundamentally. But that 20-year-old guilt, the trauma of the threat, the psychological weight of it, it's still there. It clings to him.
Wow. So he's limping physically, but also carrying this huge emotional burden. And then he gets word Esau is coming.
Yeah. And not just Esau. Esau and 400 men.
400. Okay, what does that number mean? Is that just like a big family reunion posse?
Definitely not. Our sources are clear on this. We're talking the Bronze Age Near East, 400 armed men. That's not a hunting party. That's a significant force. It could easily be interpreted as an army, a war band.
So Jacob sees this and he thinks.
This is it. He's coming to fulfill that 20-year-old promise. Given the history, it's a perfectly rational conclusion for that time and place. Esau wasn't just his slightly older brother anymore. He'd become a powerful chieftain and seer. He had resources, influence, a warrior.
The potential for violence was real?
Extremely real. Tribal conflicts, blood feuds. That was the norm for settling serious grievances like the ones Jacob had committed. Jacob knew the stakes.
And Jacob's reaction is, well, it's fascinating. Even after wrestling with God, getting the name Israel, he seems to snap right back into Jacob mode. the schemer.
It really is fascinating. It's like those old survival instincts just kick in immediately. He doesn't just wait and trust. He starts meticulously planning, trying to manage every single variable.
So what's driving that? Is it just pure strategy, or is it deeper? Like, is he wrestling with trusting God versus controlling the outcome himself?
I think it's exactly that tension. Our sources really highlight this. He's just had this divine encounter, but his ingrained nature honed over a lifetime of, well, being Jacob takes over. He starts dividing his family.
Right. The concubines, Bilhah and Zilpah, and their kids go first.
A most vulnerable position. Then Leah and her children. And who's last?
Rachel and Joseph, his favorite wife and youngest son. Safest spot.
Exactly. It's pure calculation to protect who he loves most. It's very human, maybe understandable, but it definitely shows that Jacob's nature is still alive and kicking. It also, kind of subtly, reveals the hierarchy and his favoritism within his own camp right when humility might be more appropriate.
He's trying to manage the potential damage.
Precisely. Hedging his bets, controlling what he can. Fear is a powerful motivator, even after encountering God.
And the strategy doesn't stop with the family formation. He sends gifts, massive gifts.
Oh, absolutely massive waves of gifts. Goats, sheep, camels, cattle. Hundreds and hundreds of animals sent ahead. Our sources use the Hebrew term minsha for this.
Minsha. What's the weight of that word? Is it just a present?
No, much more than that. In the ancient Near East, a minsha wasn't just a polite gesture. It was a serious diplomatic tool. It was about acknowledging power, expressing remorse, seeking favor, literally trying to cover or appease the face of the one you wronged.
So it's partly apology, partly maybe a bribe for peace?
You could see it that way. It was definitely strategic. Jacob is trying to smooth the path, to cool Esau's anger before they even meet. It's a tangible sign of repentance, yes, but it's also a calculated move to buy goodwill and maybe avoid annihilation. He's throwing everything he can at the problem.
Okay, so he's arranged the family, sent the gifts, and then he goes out front himself and bows. Not once.
7 times.
7 times. That
Yeah.
seems excessive. What's the deal with 7 bows?
It's incredibly significant. Culturally, bowing low like that, especially multiple times, was a gesture of profound respect, even submission, usually reserved for kings or deities. It's Jacob physically demonstrating utter deference to Esau.
He's basically saying, I'm beneath you, your call.
Exactly. He's laying down all pride. The number 7, as you often find in the Bible, signifies completeness or perfection. So 7 bows means total humility, complete submission. It's strategic gamble, really. He's hoping this ultimate act of abasement will disarm Esau, make him forgo his right to revenge. It's Jacob putting himself utterly at Esau's mercy.
Wow. All that calculation, all that fear driving him. Makes you think, doesn't it? Have you, listening now, ever been there? Facing something terrifying, trying to plan every detail, control every outcome, even while maybe praying for a miracle. Jacob's state here feels intensely human.
Oh.
Okay, so Jacob has done everything he can think of. Gifts sent, family arranged, he's out front, bowing repeatedly, he's braced himself, 20 years of dread culminating in the single moment, and then Genesis 33 just drops a bombshell of grace.
It really is the absolute turning point, the heart of the chapter. It defies every expectation Jacob had, and probably every expectation the original readers had too, because Esau doesn't draw his sword. He doesn't signal his 400 men. Instead, he runs to meet Jacob. Not walks, runs, throws his arms around him, embraces him, kisses him, and then they both just weep together.
Wow.
It's this incredibly raw, emotional moment, a total triumph of grace over vengeance. And you have to remember the context, Bronze Age honor culture. Blood feuds were expected for offenses like Jacob's. Esau had every cultural right, you could argue, to seek retribution.
But he doesn't. He chooses connection, forgiveness.
He does, and the psychological impact on Jacob must have been staggering. Imagine that lifetime of fear, that intricate planning, suddenly rendered utterly pointless by an act of pure, unprompted love. The relief must have been immense.
I can almost feel it. Just the weight lifting. But okay, after the tears, reality sets in. Esau looks around, sees Jacob's huge family, and he asks, who are these people with you? What's behind that question?
It's more than just curiosity. It's Esau acknowledging Jacob's new reality. When Jacob fled, he was alone. Now he returns as a patriarch, head of a large household. Esau's question recognizes that status, and Jacob's answer is key.
What does he say?
He says, these are the children God has graciously given to me. He immediately gives credit to God. It's a statement of humility, attributing his prosperity not to himself, but to divine blessing.
And then the whole family bows to Esau too.
Yes, the concubines, Leah, Rachel, all the kids, they come forward and bow. It reinforces Jacob's humility, presents his entire blessed household before Esau, acknowledging Esau's position and cementing the reconciliation publicly.
Okay, so the family's introduced, peace seems real. Then Esau brings up the gifts, those herds Jacob sent ahead.
Right. He asks, what was all that? And Jacob says, basically, they were gifts, my lord, to find favor in your sight.
But Esau initially says, no, keep them, brother, I have plenty.
He does, and that's also telling. First, it shows Esau is genuinely wealthy himself. He doesn't need Jacob's stuff. But maybe more importantly, it suggests his forgiveness wasn't conditional on the gifts. He's saying, my embrace was free, not bought.
But Jacob insists, why? If Esau's already forgiven him.
Because Jacob, perhaps still needing concrete assurance, wants the deal sealed according to custom. He pleads, no, please, if I found favor, accept my gift. God has been generous to me, I have enough. He urges Esau until he accepts.
And Esau taking the gifts means?
Culturally, that was huge. Accepting the mincha solidified the peace. It was like signing a contract. It meant, publicly and unequivocally, we are good. The past is forgiven. Jacob needed that certainty, that tangible proof that the reconciliation was complete and binding.
Got it. Okay, so the gifts are accepted, peace is sealed, and then Jacob says something truly mind-blowing. Seeing your face is like seeing the face of God.
Yes. Sometimes translated, seeing your friendly smile is like the smile of God. It's an astonishing statement. Think about it. Jacob just wrestled with God, literally saw the divine and lived. Now he looks at Esau, the brother he cheated, the one who should represent judgment, and sees a reflection of that same divine encounter. But this time it's about grace.
That's incredibly profound. What are the deeper layers there? You mentioned typology earlier.
This is a prime example. The line carries enormous metaphorical and typological weight. Coming right after the Jabbok struggle, Jacob's reconciliation with Esau becomes a tangible earthly picture, a type of God's own forgiveness. Esau's actions running, hugging, kissing, forgiving freely mirror the shocking, unmerited grace God extends.
Like the prodigal son parable.
Exactly. A very similar dynamic. The father runs to meet the undeserving son. Here, Esau, the wronged party, initiates the embrace. Our sources suggest Esau, in this moment, acts as a type of a merciful God, forgiving freely without demanding more work or sacrifice. It's a spiritual insight. Experiencing radical human forgiveness can actually give us a glimpse of God's own character.
So Jacob sees Esau's face, which should have brought judgment, but instead shows overwhelming mercy. And it feels just as divinely significant as wrestling the angel.
Precisely. It's like the flip side of the coin. The Jabbok encounter was about struggle and dependence. The encounter with Esau is about receiving unmerited grace. Both reveal something profound about God, and it shows how human relationships, at their best, can become windows into the divine.
Wow, that really changes how you read that line. It's not just relief, it's a theological statement.
It truly is. It suggests that forgiveness itself, especially when it's radical and undeserved, unveils God's presence in our lives and relationships.
Makes you pause and think, doesn't it? What fear or resentment in your own life could be totally transformed by extending or just being open to receiving that kind of unexpected radical grace, something to really chew on. So we've had this incredible peak moment, tears, embraces, forgiveness sealed. It feels like a complete resolution. But the story keeps going, and it gets, well, complicated again.
It does. Esau, fully reconciled, makes another generous offer. He says, essentially, okay, let's travel together. I'll lead the way. He's offering ongoing fellowship, protection, maybe even a shared future in Seir.
Which sounds great. A unified family again.
Yeah.
But Jacob says no.
He declines, yeah. He gives this very practical-sounding reason. My lord knows the children are frail, and the flocks and herds nursing their young are a care to me. If they're driven hard for one day, the whole flock will die. Please, let my lord pass on ahead. I'll journey slowly at the pace of the livestock and the children until I come to my lord in Seir.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. He's got a big, slow-moving caravan. Can't keep up with Esau's warriors.
On the surface, yes. It sounds perfectly logical. Esau even offers to leave some of his 400 men to help protect Jacob's group.
And Jacob refuses that too.
He says something like, why? Just let me find favor in your sight. Basically, no need, we're good.
But is he being entirely straight with Esau here? Our sources suggest maybe not.
That's where the interpretation gets really interesting. The consensus is that Jacob, despite the profound grace he just received, is not being fully transparent. His excuse about the flocks and children is likely just that, an excuse. He doesn't actually intend to go to Seir.
Ah, so the old Jacob is still operating, even after everything.
It seems so. This is where we see that tension between Israel, the God wrestler, and Jacob, the strategist, the heel catcher. He's experienced divine grace, miraculous reconciliation, but maybe full trust doesn't come instantly. There's still caution, maybe a desire for separation, a reliance on his own maneuvering rather than just openly saying, "Thanks, Esau, but I think we need to go our separate ways."
It's kind of disappointing, isn't it, after such a high point?
It's very human, though. Transformation is rarely a clean break. Old habits, old fears, old ways of coping, they linger. Jacob's journey is one of ongoing sanctification, not instant perfection.
And we see his real intentions play out pretty quickly. Esau heads back to Seir that day.
Trusting Jacob's word, presumably. Seir is that rugged, mountainous region southeast of the Dead Sea where the Edomites will eventually settle.
But Jacob turns the other way.
Completely different direction. He travels to Sukkoth. The name means booths or shelters.
And he doesn't just camp there briefly.
No, the text says he builds himself a house and makes booths, Sukkoth, for his livestock. Building structures like that implies a much longer stay than just a quick stopover on the way to Seir. It takes time, effort. It signals settling down, at least for a while.
Directly contradicting what he told Esau.
Pretty much. It shows a conscious decision to forge his own path, separate from Esau, establishing his own space.
And Sukkoth isn't his final destination either, right? He moves on again.
Right. From Sukkoth, he travels westward into the heart of Canaan and arrives safely. The text emphasizes his safe arrival at the city of Shechem.
Shechem? That's a significant place in Canaan.
Very significant. And here he takes an even more permanent step. He doesn't just camp outside the city, he buys a plot of land from the locals, the family of Hemor, for 100 pieces of silver.
Buying land. That's a statement?
It's a huge statement. Remember, Canaan is the land God promised to Abraham, Isaac, and now Jacob. Buying land is Jacob putting down roots, staking his claim in the promised land. It definitively confirms he had no intention of joining Esau in Seir. He's pursuing his own destiny, the covenant destiny, but he got there through a bit of, well, Jacob-like maneuvering with his brother.
Still relying on his own methods, even while stepping into God's promise.
Exactly. It's that complex mix again. And in Shechem, he does something profoundly important spiritually. He builds an altar.
An altar? Why is that significant?
He builds an altar and names it El Elohi Israel, which means God, the God of Israel, or mighty is the God of Israel. This is huge. It's a public declaration of his allegiance to Yahweh, the God who met him at the Jabbok, renamed him Israel, and brought him safely back. It's him planting his spiritual flag, dedicating this place and himself to God upon arrival in the land.
So, commitment to God, but still maybe some lingering issues in his human relationships.
That seems to be the picture. The altar signifies his faith and new identity, yet the journey there involved that slightly deceptive detour away from Esau. It's fascinating.
And these places, Sukkoth and Shechem, maybe they represent something more, metaphorically.
I think they can, yeah. Some interpretations see these stops as stages in a believer's journey. Sukkoth, the place of temporary shelters, might represent a resting place, maybe partial obedience, but not the final destination. Shechem, where he buys land and builds the altar, is a step further into the promise, but maybe still settling slightly short of God's full intention or getting there through mixed motives.
It shows that tension between trusting God fully and relying on our own plans or settling too soon.
Exactly. And theologically, the whole sequence underlines God's faithfulness. Despite Jacob's flaws, his past, his lingering Jacob tendencies, God protects him, God orchestrates the peaceful reunion, God brings him safely into Canaan. It shows God's covenant promise isn't dependent on Jacob's perfection. God works through imperfect people.
It really hits home, doesn't it? How often do we make commitments, have good intentions, maybe even have a powerful spiritual experience? But then, when push comes to shove, those old fears, those old habits creep back in, and we subtly veer off course, just like Jacob. That internal struggle feels very real. Genesis 33 is so much about the interaction between these two brothers, Jacob and Esau. We often focus on how different they are, the deceiver versus the wronged hunter. But if we dig deeper, like our sources do, there are actually some really striking similarities too.
That's a really important angle. Before we dive into the contrasts, let's look at what they share. First and foremost, they're twins, sons of Isaac and Rebekah, same heritage, same initial blessings from God through their lineage. They're intrinsically linked.
And both end up founding nations.
Exactly. Jacob becomes Israel, the father of the 12 tribes. Esau becomes Edom, progenitor of the Edomites. Both are figures of historical consequence, destined for greatness, albeit in different spheres.
By the time they meet here in Genesis 33, they're both pretty powerful figures, right?
Absolutely. They're not young men anymore. Both are wealthy patriarchs, heads of large households, commanding respect and resources. Esau explicitly says, "I have plenty, my brother," indicating his own significant status. He's not some poor, marginalized figure Jacob needs to rescue.
And of course, the central event of this chapter is their reconciliation, a shared moment of intense emotion and forgiveness, which is a huge shift from Esau's earlier vow to kill Jacob. They share that moment of grace.
They do. It's a powerful common experience, even if their paths diverge immediately after. So shared heritage, founders of nations, personal power and wealth, and this pivotal moment of reconciliation, those are significant similarities.
Okay, but let's get to the contrast, because they are dramatic and they really shape the narrative.
Yeah.
Even their names.
Right from the start. Jacob Yaakov, meaning heel catcher, supplanter, deceiver. Esau, possibly meaning hairy, related to the reddish appearance mentioned at his birth. The names themselves set up a dynamic.
And their characters seem to match those names, especially early on.
Very much so. Jacob is initially portrayed as, well, a schemer. He's cautious, strategic, often lives indoors, maybe more calculating. But crucially, his character undergoes profound transformation through hardship, struggle, and those divine encounters. He evolves spiritually.
Whereas Esau
is the man of the field. Impulsive, driven by immediate needs, famously selling his birthright for stew. He seems less concerned with long-term plans or spiritual inheritance initially. Yet, as we see in chapter 33, he matures remarkably. He develops this capacity for incredible compassion and forgiveness that's quite unexpected based on his earlier portrayal.
Their past actions are also a stark contrast leading up to this. Jacob is the deceiver, the thief of birthright and blessing.
Yes, and paradoxically, the biblical narrative consistently shows God's favor resting on Jacob, the younger flawed brother. He's the chosen line for the covenant promise, despite his actions.
While Esau is the victim of that deception, he despised his birthright in a moment of hunger, yes, but here he acts with such surprising grace.
He really does, and their styles of reconciliation in this chapter highlight their differences too. Jacob's approach is filled with fear, meticulously planned, relying on gifts and bowing to appease.
Calculated.
Very calculated. Esau's reaction, it seems utterly spontaneous, driven by raw emotion, love, relief, forgiveness. He just runs, embraces, weeps. It's immediate and unconditional.
Spiritually, they're also on different trajectories, even as they reconcile here.
Right. Jacob is fresh from wrestling with God, limping, learning dependence, carrying the mantle of the covenant promise that's still flawed. Esau has clearly grown emotionally and spiritually to be able to forgive like this, which is amazing, but he remains outside that specific covenant line leading to the nation of Israel. He receives earthly blessings, power, a nation of his own, but not the spiritual inheritance given to Jacob.
And even after this intense reunion, they go their separate ways.
They do. Peace is achieved, forgiveness is given, but they don't merge their lives. They pursue separate destinies. It suggests that reconciliation doesn't always mean integration. Sometimes peace is maintained through respectful separation.
Now, one of the most relatable things here, I think, is this idea of the Jacob and Israel within Jacob himself. How the names seem to switch back and forth in the text. What's that telling us?
It's such a powerful insight into our own experience, isn't it? Our sources really emphasize this. Even after Jacob is renamed Israel, signifying his new status, his favor with God, the text sometimes still calls him Jacob. It suggests that transformation doesn't erase our old nature entirely.
So we're Israel, changed by God, but the Jacob is still lurking.
Exactly. As one source puts it, you are transformed, but guess what? You still are who you are in the natural aspect of your being. We have this new identity in God's grace, but we still have to actively manage, or as the source says, keep under your feet, those old tendencies, the selfishness, the fear, the scheming, the Jacob.
Man, that feels true. It's like we can flip a switch sometimes. One moment we're walking in the Spirit, feeling like Israel, full of faith and grace. And the next, something happens. And boom, we react out of fear or anger, or that old selfish Jacob instinct takes over. We go from spiritual to flesh just like that.
It happens to all of us. It's that constant battle, the reality of living as redeemed but still imperfect people in a fallen world. It's why we constantly need grace.
It's that idea of needing the physician.
Right.
You have to admit you're sick first.
Precisely. You need to recognize that Jacob nature is still there, that you can't stand before God on your own merits. Like needing a lawyer in court, you need Christ's righteousness to cover you. It's a gift, totally free, but you have to accept it, agree that you need it. Esau's grace to Jacob is a beautiful human picture of that much greater divine reality.
Okay, we've walked through the story, looked closely at Jacob and Esau. Now let's try to pull back and look at Genesis 33 through a few different lenses, using insights from our sources. How does this chapter look from, say, a purely spiritual perspective?
Spiritually, it's incredibly rich. A key lesson seems to be that reconciliation with God often comes before and actually empowers reconciliation with people. Jacob's fear of Esau was tangled up with his own guilt before God. The wrestling match at Jabbok, where he humbled himself before God, seems to have been essential preparation for humbling himself before Esau.
So get right with God first.
That seems to be the pattern here. His humility before Esau, those 7 bows, mirrors his brokenness before God. And that stunning line, seeing Esau's face is like seeing the face of God, spiritually suggests that experiencing profound forgiveness, giving or receiving, can actually be a moment where we perceive God's presence, God's character, in a tangible way.
Like human forgiveness becomes a channel for divine grace.
In a sense, yes. It reveals the divine nature in human interaction. And the whole chapter underscores God's protective presence. Despite the danger, despite Jacob's flaws, God brings him through safely. It shows God working through challenges to shape us spiritually.
Okay, what about psychologically? What's going on inside Jacob and Esau?
Psychologically, Jacob is a case study in anxiety and unresolved guilt. His meticulous planning, the gifts, the family order, it all screams deep-seated fear of Esau's wrath after 20 years. That dread has clearly shaped him.
And the relief when Esau embraces him must have been huge.
Absolutely massive. That transformation from terror to joy is psychologically profound. It teaches a powerful lesson. Often, the scenarios we build up in our minds, the fears we nurse, are far worse than the reality. Facing the fear, especially with humility, can lead to immense emotional release, healing even past trauma.
And for Esau, what's the psychology here?
Esau displays remarkable emotional maturity. He seems to have processed his anger over those 20 years. His ability to forgive so readily suggests significant personal growth and perhaps a cathartic release for himself, letting go of the burden of that old grievance. It's psychologically healthy.
Now, theologically, what are the big takeaways about God and his ways?
Theologically, Genesis 33 is a powerful testament to grace, divine grace. Esau's unexpected, unmerited forgiveness serves as a stunning picture, a type of God's forgiveness. It's a free gift, not earned by Jacob's bowing or his gifts.
God's grace isn't transactional.
Exactly. And we see God's providence and covenant faithfulness shining through. Despite Jacob's history of deception and his lingering weaknesses, God protects him, ensures the reconciliation happens peacefully. Our sources point to God actively softening Esau's heart. It shows God's power to intervene, to guide events, ensuring his larger plan for Israel isn't thwarted by human failings or conflicts.
And the fact that these 2 brothers represent future nations, Israel and Edom?
That adds another theological layer. Their reconciliation can be seen as a model, a hope for peace between peoples, even those with bitter histories. It suggests God's mercy desires reconciliation that extends beyond just individuals, reaching towards communal peace, often achieved through grace rather than strict justice.
Finally, let's look at it socially. How does this ancient story speak to social dynamics, maybe even conflict resolution today?
Socially, it's surprisingly relevant. It offers a powerful model for conflict resolution that emphasizes the relational over the purely transactional. Yes, Jacob's cultural gestures, the gifts, mincha, the bowing, were important social signals of respect and remorse in that Near Eastern context. They acknowledged the social breach.
But they weren't enough on their own.
No, it was Esau's relational act, the running, the embrace, that truly transformed the situation. It highlights that true reconciliation often requires more than just reparations. It needs a genuine relational shift. Also, their eventual separation offers a pragmatic social insight. Sometimes peaceful coexistence between potentially rival groups is best maintained through respectful distance rather than forced integration. It acknowledges realities of power and identity.
So it reflects ancient social norms about honor, shame, forgiveness.
Absolutely. And it provides a timeless social blueprint. Humility, proactive peace-seeking, and the radical possibility of grace can de-escalate conflict and foster reconciliation, whether it's family disputes or larger societal divisions.
So many layers. Spiritual, psychological, theological, social, all woven together in this one chapter.
It's incredibly dense with meaning, offering wisdom that still resonates thousands of years later.
What always strikes me about stories like Genesis 33 is just how much they still speak to us right now. This isn't just some dusty old text. It feels incredibly relevant to our own lives.
Oh, absolutely. The themes are timeless because human nature, relationships, conflicts, They haven't fundamentally changed that much.
Take family conflict, for instance. Jacob and Esau. That's intense family drama, betrayal, estrangement lasting decades. Sadly, that's something many people experience today.
It is. Inheritance disputes, past hurts, misunderstandings that fester for years. This story offers real hope. It shows that healing is possible, even after a long, bitter silence. But it often requires, as we saw with Jacob, humility, a willingness to make amends, maybe offer a mincha of sorts, a genuine gesture of restitution, and, like Esau, a capacity for grace.
And Jacob's fear before the meeting, that feeling of dread when you have to confront someone or deal with something you did wrong in the past.
So relatable, that anxiety replaying scenarios in your head. Jacob's whole preparation phase mirrors that internal struggle many of us face. The story encourages us not to just live in fear, but to take proactive steps, trusting that, especially for people of faith, God can go before us, preparing the way, maybe softening hearts in ways we can't anticipate. Facing the fear with humility can lead to peace.
Humility. Jacob's 7 vows. In our world, humility often feels like weakness, doesn't it? We're told to be assertive, stand our ground.
Right. But this story flips that script. Jacob's profound humility wasn't weakness. It was actually this incredibly powerful force that helped disarm Esau's potential anger. It shows that genuine vulnerability, admitting fault, lowering yourself, it can be incredibly effective in building bridges, in personal life, at work, even maybe on a larger scale. It invites a different kind of response than aggression does.
And then there's Esau's response, that radical, unconditional forgiveness. In today's world, with cancel culture, holding grudges, demanding perfect apologies, Esau's grace feels almost alien.
It's a stark contrast, isn't it? It challenges us directly. Can we let go of bitterness, even when deeply wronged? Can we offer grace without demanding perfect repentance first? Esau's action offers hope that even the deepest enmities can be overcome if someone is willing to extend that kind of radical grace. It frees both the forgiver and the forgiven.
It really encourages us to seek peace proactively, maybe be the first one to offer the olive branch, even if we feel we're the wronged party.
And Jacob's whole life journey, really, from Jacob the deceiver to Israel the God wrestler, reflects our own path of personal and spiritual growth, doesn't it? We all evolve through struggles, through encounters with the divine, through reflection.
And our past mistakes, our scars.
Yeah.
They don't have to define us forever.
Exactly. They can become testimonies to God's faithfulness, to our own resilience, and that idea we talked about, the Jacob still inside us even after we become Israel, that constant tension.
Yeah, still having to keep that old nature under your feet.
Right. It's a reminder that growth is ongoing. We're transformed, yes, but we still wrestle with those ingrained habits, those fears. We can still flip that switch back to our old ways if we're not careful, not reliant on grace.
It requires admitting we still need help, like needing that physician.
Precisely. Acknowledging our sickness, our ongoing need for God's grace, for Christ's covering, it's not a one-time fix, it's a daily dependence. Esau's grace was a moment. God's grace is continuous, but we have to keep receiving it.
And finally, for people of faith, there's immense comfort in seeing God's hand behind the scenes here, isn't there?
Definitely. Seeing how God worked to soften Esau's heart, protected Jacob, ensured his plan moved forward despite human messiness. It reinforces trust in God's providence. It suggests God can work in impossible situations, change hearts, and guide things towards his purposes, even when we can't see how. It encourages us to trust his timing and power in our own seemingly intractable conflicts.
So many connections. Family, fear, humility, grace, identity, faith. It's all packed into this ancient reunion.
Truly timeless wisdom. Hashtag outro.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into Genesis 33, it's pretty clear this is way more than just an old story about two brothers making up. It really feels like a living blueprint, doesn't it? For reconciliation, for humility, and just the sheer stunning power of grace.
Absolutely. We've walked through Jacob's fear, all his intricate plans, that lingering Jacob nature still wrestling within him. We've seen Esau's completely unexpected, grace-filled embrace, and Jacob's subsequent journey, settling in the land, building that altar. It's packed with history, metaphor, typology, and lessons that hit home today.
Yeah, lessons about how getting right with God can help us get right with others, how crippling fear can be dissolved by grace we didn't earn, and how God keeps working his plan, even through our very human imperfections and detours.
It's a powerful picture of transformation for Jacob, certainly, but also for Esau, who demonstrates such incredible growth. It offers genuine hope for our own struggles and relationships.
So here's a final thought to maybe take with you. We've talked about Jacob, the supplanter, still wrestling with his old self even after being renamed Israel, and Esau, the hairy outdoorsmen who somehow embody this radical, almost divine forgiveness. Consider this. How might acknowledging your own Jacob, those ingrained habits, those fears you default to, maybe those strategic impulses actually allow God's Israel in you, that person of divine favor and purpose, to shine more brightly?
Mm-hmm. How might facing your own inner Jacob lead you, perhaps unexpectedly, towards extending or receiving the kind of transformative embrace that Jacob and Esau shared right there by the Jabbok?
Something to think about. The question that definitely sticks with you long after you finish reading Genesis 33.